Hey folks, welcome back to Combo Class. Now today, in our language day, you might notice that I'm not spelling Combo Class the same with our usual letter C. I normally spell it Combo Class using C's, but maybe that's because I was brainwashed by society. So I was recently thinking about my ABCs, you know, the good old English alphabet that I learned back in the day in school. And I was wondering, when in history did this set of letters, A, B, C, up through Z, become the official standard for the English alphabet? Compared to like Old English, where you had other letters and different things rising and falling in popularity and emerging throughout history. When did A, B, C, D, etc. become the English alphabet? But when I was looking this up online, I couldn't really find a clear answer of when which letter was officially set in stone. And then it hit me. It wasn't really ever set in stone. This isn't some legal standard. It's just the current state of a fluctuating alphabet. And although we're kind of stuck on these 26 letters being a factual thing, maybe they're kind of nonsense. Although we're used to these 26 letters being the standard, it wasn't that long ago that 26 wasn't the number of the alphabet. In fact, in the 1800s, there was considered to be a 27th letter. And you guys actually know the symbol, but you don't think of it as a letter probably. And that 27th symbol was the ampersand, my second favorite punctuation mark. You know, this squiggly thing that means and? So let's look at its origins. Well, et is the Latin word for and the English language has a lot of Latin roots, so we used to use this et. And then we started writing the E kind of like that, and the et, and then we started smushing them kind of together, and then we and it turned into this symbol. But what about the name, ampersand? Where the heck did that come from? Well, it turns out, back in the day, when they would count through the alphabet song of the 27 letters, some of them they would say per se in the middle of, meaning as in itself, for words that could have been a noun on their own, like I, meaning I per se I. It was something they would put in the middle for letters that could also be nouns, to say we just meant the letter. So at the end, since and could be a letter or could mean and, they would say and per se and. And after enough times of saying X, Y, Z, ampersand, X, Y, Z, ampersand, it got smushed into ampersand. One of those times in history where it just got like vocally smushed like a game of telephone from one set of words into another one. Now, not only was this ampersand fella as recent as the 1800s, but some of the other letters that we're used to are super recent too. Like J, for example. The good old letter J wasn't introduced into the English alphabet until the 1600s. And then it took another century or two to be fully considered one of the 27 letters. Now, this symbol I wrote earlier has a special name. This was one of the letters that used to be in the English alphabet, transitioning from Old English, and somehow got kicked out or slipped through the cracks. And its name is thorn. I think this fella should be let back into the alphabet. It makes the th sound. We don't have to do a th, we can just use this good old letter thorn. And in fact, when you see Old English words like ye old, well, actually, that Y was a thorn. So it actually was the old using a thorn. And somehow it turned into ye old. And before W, there was another cool kicked out or lost letter called win. Also looks kind of P-like. But this win fella that made a W sound totally worked until history decided, nah, we're not going to use one letter for that. We're going to have two U's in a row make the W sound. All right, okay. I guess sometimes words use a double letter to change and make a different sound. But then history decided these two U's are going to get smushed into a fella called W. Now, don't get me started on W. W is the most ridiculous letter. Any other time we have two letters that are the same in a row, like C's in accent or like O's in zoom, we don't combine it and make a letter called double C or double O. This guy turns just two U's into W. takes the place of this good letter win that could have done all the stuff. W. With numbers, like all numbers are normally one syllable. 7's a kind of annoying exception. It's 2 syllables. Now with letters, all of them pretty much are 1 syllable. None are 2 syllables. And this one decides to be 3 syllables. The freaking nerve of this letter. All right, before we go into how poorly structured the sounds of these letters are designed, let's go into how poorly structured their appearance is designed. So, there's so many symbols you could have used to make letters. There's a lot of things that could have been a letter that we didn't use. So why do we have so many lookalikes? To describe these lookalikes, I printed out some W's. And, Aaron, I think I printed M's by accident. I'll use that next example.
You could flip, you could rotate it.
Rotate fine. It. Aaron, are these O's or zeros? It's supposed to be O's, but did I print zeros by accident?
Those look like zeros.
Damn it!
No, but you can still...
Okay, so these were either my I's, my L's, or my 1's. God, was this... Oh, no, these were the U's that you need for your Q's.
Okay.
All right, so they look dumb, but how about how they're named? Let's try that at least. What about like the letter B? Well, you write a B, and we know it's the letter B. You add an E, and suddenly it's still pronounced B, but it means like existence or like something. Then you add another E, and it's a small yellow animal. What? Okay, let's go to... Okay. All right, so their shapes are bad, their names are bad, but what about the sounds they make? Well, going back to B, that one's okay. I'm not gonna give that one any sort of weird circle, I'm gonna let it be. B goes B. How about C? What does C do? Sometimes it goes K, like a K. Sometimes it goes S, like an S. But it does not have any actual phoneme or sound that it uniquely creates on its own. C is gone. Well, if C is completely useless and doesn't add anything to the alphabet, the other 25 have to be good, right? Well, it turns out there are 2 others that don't do anything. Q, you're just KW in disguise. Get out of here. X, you're just chaos in disguise. Get out of here. 3 entirely useless consonants that do not have any unique phoneme sound they add. All right, now X, I at least have a little bit of a soft spot for. It's a kind of cool letter, and we use it as a variable in math and stuff. But Q is just so terrible. If we're doing the spelling out thing, Q can be Q the letter, it can be C-U-E, or it can be Q-U-E, U-E. Q. Aaron, 20% of this word is functional, Aaron. Q can't even be a letter on its own. Even to do its job of stealing KW, it needs to use a U with it. When you're designing a board game, let's say you want to make a game with letters, like Boggle or like Scrabble. How do you want to do your Qs? Do you want your Qs to be their own tile, like in Scrabble? Where's a Q? So you could put your Qs on a single tile like Scrabble, which totally helps the aesthetic. Each tile is 1 letter, but totally messes up the gameplay because then you're waiting to get a U if you have that. And what about Boggle? In Boggle, you have the other approach where the QU is on 1 square, which makes the gameplay work better, but totally ruins the aesthetic of having 1 letter per thing. Do you choose to ruin your aesthetic of your game or your gameplay? Aaron, it shouldn't be too hard to find a letter dice here, should it? All right, so these 3 letters really do not add anything to the alphabet. We could kick these 3 out and do all the same jobs of words without. So what should we do with them? Well, some of you might know that I'm a fan of base 12 as a proposition for the future, instead of just counting in a number system called base 10, where we go up to 9, then 1, 0, having a symbol for 10 and a symbol for 11, and then resetting, because base 12 has some great properties. So why not kick these out of the alphabet and make them numbers instead? C, which already means 100 in some contexts, will now be 10, and Q will be 11. And now the difference between any two numbers composed of the same digits will be a multiple of Q, not 9. And what about X? I think X has enough jobs. It's crossing stuff out, it's an X marks the spot, it's a variable and a times sign. So I think we can leave X with those jobs, and that's enough. So here's my proposition for the year 3000. Kick these out of the alphabet. That's 10, that's 11. We go to base 12. Sound good? But after that, there's still a little bit more fixing we could do. You know, there's some sounds that don't have a letter, like sh or th. And that's just so ridiculous that we have useless letters doing nothing and then other sounds that are very valid that don't get a letter. So I want you guys to think before the next episode, what other sounds like sh and th are there? How many consonant sounds, to be specific, we'll ignore vowels for now, do we need in the English language? It's actually not that many. And next episode, we're gonna go a little bit deeper into the linguistics of what a sh and th is and how we could construct a better alphabet. All right, guys, thanks for coming to class. That's all for right now, but we are gonna come back to some more language mishaps next time. Until then, why don't you guys think about what consonant sounds are out there? And I have some dice to clean up as usual.